Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 3 of the SimRacing Expo podcast. It is absolutely flying by all of these podcasts. I am, as usual, joined by Danny. Danny, how you doing, mate?
Hi. First of all, nice to hear you again, Luke. And I can't complain. I'm very happy, and I hope you as well.
I certainly am. It was amazing to have Kevin Siggy on our podcast last time. One of,
yes.
in my opinion, the very best sim racers ever. So, yeah, it was a really good insight from him about his journey through sim racing and what he's currently up to and what he's won. Again, one of the most decorated sim racers of all time. Second to probably you, Danny, as one of the most decorated.
I wouldn't say so. I'm already like in retirement, right? But I felt like when he was talking about it, there's so many things he talked about where I was like, wait, this happened, and he was there. So I think it was very good to have him for him to shine some light of his on his achievements and as his astonishing career. So well, I'm very happy with the second episode, to be honest. It was a really good one.
Yeah, it's quite a full circle moment for me, really, because I was a commentator for the 2019 McLaren Shadow final, so it's like one of the first real major LAN events he won, and getting to see him be still at the very top at this stage, obviously winning the EWC last year, was absolutely phenomenal. But we got a new guest this week. We got RSS Ready Set Sim.
Yes.
I'll let you explain what Ready Set Sim is, Danny, and we're also going to be using their website to build your dream rig.
Okay, so from my understanding, and I was last year on the Expo as well, he actually built a website where you can basically turn in your dream simulator and as to is set up, and then you just click check out and you get everything what you want to. And even as I prepared for the podcast, actually, they have also ratings on the hardware and so on. So basically, it's super easy to build your simulator because, I mean, Luke and you and I, we are like every day confronted with this business. But to be honest, when I opened the steering wheel selection, I was dead actually because I never knew there are so many steering wheels. So this kind of webpage helps you to manage all the sheer amount of hardware which is actually available for sim racers and people wanting to get into sim racing. And I would phrase it like it's a Tinder for your sim racing simulator.
Well, I've been in a relationship for 15 years, Danny, so I have no idea what Tinder is. Right, let's head onto the website then. I'll click onto it, and we're going to build Danny's sim rig. So this is the website, Ready Set Sim. I will go through it in a bit more detail when we have our guest Ian Strommen on the broadcast. So we'll do it with Danny very briefly here, so you guys can get a kind of a little look as to what we will be doing. So I've clicked New Build. I'm not going to create an account right now.
It's super cool that you actually can create an account, to be honest. I was just under the impression that you can add the items, but saving and sharing the build is actually quite fun, to be honest.
Well, I've actually already built ones here. I built one yesterday, just testing the website out. So what we'll do is we'll just replace all the stuff that I did.
Okay. Is
Danny,
your bank account already bankrupt, or?
Honestly, this was so much easier like 5 to 10 years ago, but now there's just so much out there. Right, so we're going to start with the wheel then, Danny. I'm going to press replace, and I'm going to let you choose the wheel. So what wheel are you going for?
So first of all, like the first, 12 wheels? There are some which you already had, like the Fanatec Clubso steering wheel when I had back then Fanatec and so on. But I mean that's like my dream setup. I have currently the Asha Tour Pro, so there's not too much left on the table, to be honest. But one wheel which I always wanted to have is actually like a full LMP style one, like totally fleshed out with a big screen and too many buttons and too many rotaries that I probably will never use anyway. Okay, I regret my decision and what I said. Let's go for the Mercedes AMG F1 from SimLab for 2,699 euros.
Sorry, where is that? How far down are we going down here?
I think you need to click 2 or 3 times on load more.
There's so many options, man.
Yes. I mean, even if you don't want to build your simulator, I mean, the page is really good to get the impression how much hardware is actually available.
Mate, I cannot find this. There's so many. Mercedes AMG. Okay. The
It
cube
has a
controls.
white background.
Oh, not the cube controls one.
No, exactly. There's a bit further down one.
Ah, there we
I
go.
mean,
Oh yeah. Cool. Wow. Yeah.
yeah.
Look at that. Well, there we go. There's the wheel.
I mean, I wanted to say now I can feel finally like Lewis Hamilton, but it's a bit lacking now.
Yeah, he's not a Mercedes anymore.
Yeah.
Which is still weird to see him in red. Right, what pedals are we going for, Danny?
Pedals, I think. I probably need to go with pedals, which have formula options. But I'm a simple guy, and I would go with the SimMagic P2000. I have them at home as well. Not too much to complain currently, so I take them.
2 pedal or 3 pedals?
Yeah, 2 pedals. We're going for the Formula One build, right?
Right, so, hey, this is your build, Danny. This is all about you.
Yeah.
Right, there we go. So we've done that then. What about the
can't
wheelbase?
Can't wait to be flamed in the comments about my shitty build.
I'm not sure you can. I'm not sure you can use that term. That's for sure. Do I need to change the SimiCube to Sport?
I would go. Wait a second. We can opt in for the Pro because I think the more power is very welcome.
So the SimiCube 2 Ultimate?
No, Pro is enough. On the wheelbase, I go for not too crazy. I mean, the Pro is really, I think, still up on the best or some of the best wheelbases still.
Not too crazy. One of the craziest ones out there. Monitor stand. I guess we need a monitor stand. So what we're gonna go for that?
To be honest, that's like the sheer amount of possible monitor stands is killing me. It's probably dependent, right, on the rig I want to use later.
I use Track Racer, so that's
okay.
That's okay. And I can highly recommend those.
Okay, to be honest, I would go with single screen 49-inch because I went back and forth to triple and single screen, and I don't know, 49 is for me like the 49-inch wide, ultra wide is like a perfect compromise, I think.
You need to tell me the name of this so I can find it.
The large freestand from Track Racer.
I was literally on that one. There we go. Perfect.
You can read my mind, man.
So,
and now what's
finally
cockpit and chassis, right?
Cockpit and chassis.
But the good thing is they have also like complete kits. I found that like very important when I researched it before because it gives the people an option which are not too deep into all of the kind of multi-million options of sim racing hardware to really dive in and finish the build in some minutes, to be honest, or even seconds. Oh shit! Sorry for that shenanigans. I wanted to say. There's so many different rigs. Oh man.
Copy that. I have the TR8 Pro. That's what I use.
I was on my mouse with that. I'm under the impression that Track Racer actually has a Formula rig, wasn't it?
It does, yeah. Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
If you find it, just put it in. I think.
I don't know. I'm gonna add the Alpine Racing TRX actually.
Just
because of the colours. Just because of the colours.
But isn't it now a crazy sin that I have an Alpine rig and a Formula One steering wheel from Mercedes?
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, isn't it?
But I accept every Formula One fan. So
your rig, Danny, comes in at a very cost-effective, very cheap $5,865. Okay, let's quickly get out of the screen. Let's put us back on. So
yeah.
that's
Don't get me to any stupid ideas.
and let's just hope that the Ian from Ready Set Sim is the Santa Claus of sim
Always.
racing. So that should all arrive by Christmas. But yeah, there you go, Danny. Have you got any final thoughts before I introduce our guest?
I mean, I think would be very cool to talk about with Ian about the idea of coming up with these kind of things, and especially using AI for that, because AI is often like still referred to like a scammy word or like a negative attached word. But I think in some cases, especially these kind of cases, AI is a very good tool to help and develop these kind of things. And otherwise, I wish our listeners a very good episode, and thank you for sticking around. The first podcast was very well received, also from the click numbers and so on. And I'm very happy to do this kind of work with you together. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. And if you have any recommendations or you want to hear somebody talk to Luke, just put it into the comments. We try to get them onto the show. I send them news from myself, and maybe that helps or not. Yeah, thank you very much.
There you go. And we're definitely not going to have Danny on as a guest because he just likes to waffle. My God. Right. Yeah, and Danny is right. If you've got anyone you want to see on the podcast and hear a little bit more about them, whether it be a sim racing company, it could be a content creator, it could be an esports driver, maybe even some real world drivers as well. We've got a lot of contacts. Then absolutely let us know in the comments. But without further ado, let's introduce our guest that can go through the website a little bit more in depth and also explain some of the other things that Ready Set Sim are doing. I cannot wait to welcome you, Ian Strommen. And as if by magic, here he is. It's Ian Strommen. Ian, how the devil are you doing, mate?
I am doing great, Luke. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's a bit of a long one today, but it's. I've been excited about this, hearing about the about your journey in sim racing and your business, and we're going to build a rig just like we did with Danny earlier on as well, and see whether yours is better than his using your website. But for anybody that doesn't know who you are, it's probably best if you explain who you are and what you do and what RSS is.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Luke, for having me. It's been great to be part of the SimRacing Expo last year, and looking forward to going again this year. Yeah, my sim racing journey is probably like most other sim racers. Growing up playing all the arcade sim racing games that I could get near would be Need for Speed, Forza, Gran Turismo, Burnout, even like Speed Devils on Dreamcast. I even got into all the other non-car racing games like Hydro Thunder and the snowboarding games and all that. So I've always had an affinity with cars and competition and the real life car scene. I even got into my own little real life racing experience when I was a teenager up north in a small county fair here in Minnesota, where I'm from. I did a dirt rally race. My uncle owned an auto body shop and made some beater cars and a little bean track with 16 V8 engines just going at each other. And that's what I kind of knew. I think like racing, I loved it, right? So fast forward a few years, went to school, kind of stepped away from the racing a little bit, got married, which makes it even harder to start sim racing. But then I told my wife, I think I want to get into actual racing again. And she said, well, why don't you try your sim racing first to see if you like it? And I said, okay, if you're giving me the go ahead, I'm going to start sim racing. So then I started my journey to find the right rig, which is kind of what birthed Ready Set Sim. As you, Luke, and I'm sure every other sim racer who's listened to this or has ever touched a rig understands the dilemma we all find ourselves in. Filtering through hundreds and hundreds of parts. Is this cockpit going to work with this wheelbase, with this wheel, this pedals? Is this right for me? Is this the long-term solution? It was a headache, and there, I did the math. There's over 300 million combinations you could do between wheels, pedals, wheelbases, cockpits, monitor stands, it's endless. And so going through my Excel spreadsheets and, after weeks of hundreds of reviews and video reviews and Reddit posts saying the same thing but different things, I finally just found a guy on YouTube, loved what he had, and just bought what he had. But I knew there had to be a better way. I knew there had to be something that was going to help me, right? That was going to get to know me and then offer me an unbiased solution. It didn't exist. And so that's where I had the idea for Ready Set Sim, where I would help people find the right equipment. New beginners like me, who's someone who doesn't really enjoy the search. I just wanted to race. And I know that's a lot of people out there. So yeah, a little bit about my sim racing journey is knowing that I wanted to race and I didn't want to have to get stuck in the weeds with trying to find the right stuff.
No, absolutely. Well, do you know what? Let's head on to the website right now. So I'm going to put it on to the screen for you all now, so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. So let's start with building like a real budget rig. Something that people may want to use when they first start off, something that's affordable, something that really makes them fall in love with sim racing, and then we're going to build your dream rig in. So let's start off with the wheel. What should we go for in terms of the wheel?
Let's see here.
So if I sort by price low to high, you can't see what I'm doing. That's fine, but no. I've sorted from price low to high.
Low to high. So if you're looking for a budget rig, I like to go price, let's see, low to high. Usually I would recommend everybody start with something that's a little more versatile for a wheel. So if I go to the filters on the left-hand side, I like to make sure the racing type is in the GT racing side of it. So that way we know that we're going to be having a wheel that someone could start with formula, with drifting, with regular GT racing, oval racing, and all of that. So, and as you see here, we have a lot of Fanatec wheels, it looks like, as well. So, Fanatec has a great ecosystem. It allows for a lot of growth. And so, if you're looking to make sure you're on a type of gaming system you're on, you can also go to the filtering on the left-hand side. And let's see here, we're going to go to gaming platform, and let's assume you're on PlayStation, right?
Copy that.
There's still some wheels out there for you. So the first one that comes up is the CSL wheel by the Fanatec for BMW. So we can go ahead and add that to our rig and go back, and now we're at $149 to start.
Yep. Now we need to go and get a set of pedals.
Pedals, the most important part of racing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the brake pedal specifically.
Brake pedal specifically. I'm a guy who likes to just go fast, so I probably don't use the brake as well as I should. That's why my lap times aren't getting any better, Luke. Again, we'll filter low to high.
I've also done GT racing as well.
GT racing, and then we want to make sure that it is going to be compatible with PlayStation again. All right, the CSL pedals, right? That's a great start as well. So we're going to add that to the build. So now we're at $229.
So you want the CSL Elites? Or CSL pedals. No, I see that.
I got the CSL pedals,
yep,
right?
Copy that. Well, we are good. Then we need a wheelbase.
Wheelbase, also probably going to want to have it be Fanatec, right? And we want to keep it straightforward. So let's go to brand, hit Fanatec. We want to make sure that the gaming platform is PlayStation. So we have two options, the Club Sport DD Plus and the Club Sport DD Pro. Let's go with the DD Pro. I'm going to click on just the image of it, and I can actually get a great product page of it. 8 Newton meters on that. Looks like it's compatible with PlayStation and PC as well if you want to do that. So I'm going to hit add to build there. So now we're at $729, still in the Fanatec ecosystem. Do we want to put a cockpit or a chassis in there?
Well, these could be put onto a desk, right? So it's not a necessity. But let's go for a cockpit, shall we? Let's go for like a chassis as well. Let's add something.
All right, so let's go low to high again. And then I think with this we have a lot of different options here. I want to make sure that it's probably someone who's going to probably be by their desk maybe or their living room. Probably foldable. So I'm going to look here. It looks like even the first one's up here. We have the GT Elite PlayStation by Next Level Racing, FGT Elite. Let's go with just the GT Elite PlayStation Edition, GT Lite PlayStation Edition.
Yep.
$239. Looks like it's foldable as well. So that's going to be a great setup.
$239. For me, it's $199.
234.
Oh, 234. Sorry. Oh yeah, GT Lite
234.
PlayStation. Yeah.
GT Lite.
No, that one folds away as well, doesn't it? You can put your pedals on there and all that good stuff. So what do we come to in total? $964.88, and that is your wheel, your pedals, your wheelbase, and a rig sorted. So that's that's a pretty good start, I would say.
Yeah.
People in the comments, let us know how wrong we are. We are, how right we are. But more than likely, they'll tell us how wrong we are. You know how tribal sim racers are, and whatever equipment they've bought is probably the best. So let's go for a new build now. I have. I've not logged into my. Let me just go back to the podcast screen and see your beautiful face, and then I will log in because I have made an account, but I don't want to give away my information, of course, because that would be silly. I don't know why that hadn't logged in.
It is free to use, which is great. You have to create an account to save your builds. But for anyone else, again, everything is free to use here. That was very important to us. I didn't want to have a tool that was going to cost any money. I didn't want any ads on our website. I wanted this to be a place of zen, as most sim racers are aware of, and a lot of our websites we go to, it's kind of inundated with advertisements, understandably. But we, again, want it to be different than that. Everything that we started with Ready Set Sim, I wanted to do differently than everybody else. I wanted to create a product that did not exist already. And that's really what our intent is here. And we're really listening to the community of what other enhancements do we want. We're just getting started. My original product was this configurator, as you can see in the top left, an AI configuration tool, which is actually about to come out in a couple of weeks again. But we learned through the community that something like this, just like, hey, let me pick my own parts to start, was going to be a key part for the community, and implemented that.
No, it's really good. So I have now got the page back up here, so I'm going to just replace the things that we've already done. So for starters, let's go to a wheel. I'm going to press replace. And what would be your dream wheel rim?
Ooh, dream wheel. So I'm going to go price highest to low because I like expensive things. You see here, we have the Sim Lab up there, VPG Sim, some of the grid engineering. Martin Asher did great things at Asher Racing. So there's a lot of good options out here. But I might say that the Sim Lab, not because it's most expensive. I can see there that Mike at SimRacing Den gave it an 8.7 out of 10. He actually did a great review on it. I love the Mercedes racing team as well. Like how they almost made an exact replica of what they're racing in that team. So I'm going to go ahead and add that actually to my build.
And the great thing is you do have, again, scores from people who've reviewed the products and used them thoroughly. You also have a brief description as well. You have lots of information about these products, and the more people that use the platform, the more reviews you're going to have, right? So it's definitely worthwhile checking that out. So we're going to put the Mercedes AMG rim in from SimLab. So that already increases the price quite significantly. Right, let's go to the pedal set. There's only one pedal set if it's the dream, right? Surely.
Well, it depends. We're seeing more and more of these active pedals out there. So I haven't tried any of the new active pedals yet, but I would like to try some of the new active pedals, whether it's with SimiCube, and some of the other guys are coming out with them now. So I currently drive with the Acetec Invicta pedals, but I've always wanted to try the SimiCube active pedals. So I'm going to go ahead, the active pedal Pro with the 3 set on the left.
Yep, no, that's fine. So we've added that to the list. So we're basically, for all of you who are watching at home, we're about to show you how expensive sim racing really can be. It can be affordable, but there is also a very high market as well. What wheelbase are we going for?
I'm shooting for the stars here, Luke.
Okay.
For my total dream.
Right.
Wheelbase. I think I want to stay maybe with the SimiCube ecosystem if I had the pedals. I don't mind the SimiCube 2 Pro. That's what I've driven before. We'll keep the price down. We'll try to be somewhat price conscious on this one. It looks like this one, if I click on the product details, has 25 Newton meters. I don't need anything more than that. I have nothing to prove, to be honest. I usually keep it down to 16 myself, 15 depending when I'm driving. But that is a great wheelbase.
No, perfect. So we've got the wheelbase in. Right, monitor stand. Do we want a monitor stand, or are we just going to get a cockpit all in one?
I'm gonna probably do freestandings. I know I'm gonna get a cockpit. I like to have my monitor stand separate. But I do like to move around quite a bit. Throw the rig around, throw my weight around. And I just probably get triple monitors. So knowing what I'm gonna get next for my cockpit sneak peek, I'm gonna go with probably that ASR Advanced Sim Racing triple monitor stand. Up to 43 inches there at the $489 price point.
400. Oh, freestanding advanced sim racing. Yeah, there we go. We have added that, mate. And then we just need the cockpit, I guess.
Yep.
Or
Price high to low. Yeah, and I love what ASR has done with their ASR Pro and their V2 actually that it just came out recently too. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that one.
That's what Danny went
We're
for.
updating it. Yeah, did he get the lime green too?
Yep. No.
It's all we have on there. Yeah. So there we go. That's our start to our full rig setup.
Yeah, and that comes to a total of $9,683.98. So yeah, just a few dollars more than the previous one there, Ian. But yeah, it just goes to show that this website is applicable to whether you're just getting started and you want to get yourself a nice starter rig, or whether you really want to delve deep into the immersion of sim racing. So I think that kind of showed it off nicely there. Any final thoughts on that monstrous rig you just put together?
Who won, Danny or myself?
It's not a lot. It's quite similar. Your taste is very similar, to be honest.
Danny is a man of good taste.
Yeah, Danny is the one that technically keeps me employed. So, off of that basis, I'm going to have to go with Danny. But no, there's not much difference between the both of you, to be honest. You've both got very similar taste. Well, we've done that. What's the future hold for Ready Set Sim? Obviously, you just alluded to something in terms of AI coming, which I don't know how much you can go into that or not. And maybe talk a bit more about some of the events that you've been involved in, and maybe in the future, what ones you want to get involved in.
Yeah. Kind of the future of RSS, it's been evolving. When I first started this October of 23, it was a cheap website where I asked people like, hey, let me help configure a rig for you. And I was working on an AI tool myself, knowing, again, I have no technical background. So I was using ChatGPT or those other services and realizing that people were trying to use it. And I saw a need for it. And so that's when I realized I need to get a real team and really take this seriously to the next level. And the Simfigurator, this AI tool, I realized was going to need a lot of data and a lot of work and a lot of time. So that's where that's kind of been put to the side. Coming out here shortly again, we really wanted to support users in a variety of different ways, knowing that a lot of sim racers might want to just build their own and just go through the research. And this could be a great tool, the SimRig Builder here, just to have different builds and kind of go back and forth. Some people will want, again, an AI tool to get to know them, ask them the questions. What's your racing style? What's your budget? What experience level do you want to get to? Do you already have any components? That would be another great tool for them. We're going to be offering free consultations here soon. We've seen quite a few people have reached out to us asking, hey, I just want to talk to somebody. Like, can you point me in the right direction? We're going to have a quick start build section on here. What's the best rig under $1,000? What's the best formula rig for a desk setup? What is Danny's favorite rig? Different ways. A lot of people want to have a starting point. So we're going to be attacking with a lot of different avenues. The other big update coming here shortly, and this was the number one request we received over the last 6 months, is compatibility. What wheel works with what wheelbase? What wheelbase works with the cockpit? What cockpit adjustments do I need for this wheelbase? So in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have a compatibility support where you'll put a wheel and your wheelbase in there, and it'll tell you, yep, you're good to go, or nope, you need to buy this specific quick release.
That's
or different adapters.
Incredible, by the way. For someone like me who's been involved in sim racing for, it's too long for me to even remember at this point. I still get so confused with all of that stuff. So that, right, even for someone who's been in for so long, that is an amazing thing to have.
Yeah, and that's kind of, we realized the biggest barrier to entry for most sim racers is I don't even know where to start, but when I do, what works with what? And am I buying something that's not going to work well together? And we know that sim racing, and we'll get to this here soon, but is is it at the golden age? I believe it's not even there yet. I think it's coming, um, but it has to be more accessible. It has to be easier for people to come in, and that's really what our goal is: to make sim racing accessible, simplify sim racing, so that compatibility tool is going to be great support. A comparison tool will be in here shortly. You can compare up to 3 wheels to each other, 3 wheelbases. Um, in every other aspect we're doing is to make it easier and to have a single source to find all this information. Um, Without going too much into detail of what I can and cannot say, but in a few months we're going to have a great platform where more sim racers are going to be able to connect together. And I always ask people, what's the number one thing that you want to do with your rig when you maybe are finished or you want to try something else? There's not a great place to transfer your rig. I won't say much more than that, or reuse someone else's. So we're going to have a big tool that's going to be coming here in the next few months as well to support sim racers in that way.
Yeah, well, I like to compare sim racing to other esports. So I follow Call of Duty, I follow a bit of FIFA, and it's so simple. Their esports, right? It's a control pad. I get some of the settings they have to do is starting to get a bit more complex, especially playing on PC. But in reality, compared to sim racing, the biggest difference is the complexity, like you just said. So to simplify it for people, as much as you possibly can, because it's almost an impossible task, right, to a certain extent.
Right.
But if you can make it easier for people to understand, what the first step is and how they can take the steps all the way up into, like you just said, they're a $10,000 rig, without any complications and having to just throw out a half a rig entirely. Like, you want to be able to take the natural progression steps by, again, being able to use the right ecosystem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And we want to instill confidence. It's like buying a car, right? You always want to have that support of, am I buying the right car? Is this right for me? You have a salesperson that way. And there are a lot of other services. There's a lot of people out there supporting. We have partners who build these turnkey builds for people, and those are great. But majority of people want to have a more budget friendly side, and that is awesome. And that's what we want, that way they can get comfortable with sim racing, know that I can upgrade and I have a tool that's going to support me in my upgrading in the future. So that's what we're going to be stepping in at to support those people.
100%. Again, I think it's a fantastic idea. I've had a lot of fun looking at what projects I could build and dream setup. So it's been a fun couple of weeks since I found out about the website. You've been involved recently in some major events. I actually commentated on one of them as well, which is really, really fun. But how has it been getting involved via either sponsoring or hosting events over the last couple of months?
Yeah, it's been so awesome, Luke. The sim racing community, which I'm still relatively new to, some people like you who've been in here for many years. It's been so inviting, and there's so many niches of types of racing, types of just driving. Right? It's not always racing, and that's why I'm trying to be careful how I say sim racing, because some people don't race. They just want to drive an awesome car in the middle of the Japanese streets in like 1995. There's communities for that. And so that's what I've learned is that no matter what kind of cars you like racing, like there's communities for that. The first event I went to was the SimRacing Expo last year, and where you were hosting this front stage, and really I was trying. This is my coming out party to a lot of the sim racers, the influencers, the manufacturers, and just I remember I was walking around with my iPad with a beta version of all this, being like, "Hey, what do you guys think? Does this have legs? Is this going to be helpful?" I felt kind of goofy, but that's kind of what you had to do. And everyone was so friendly and welcoming and encouraging. But everyone was like, "Yeah, like this industry needs this tool." And that's what I knew. Like, okay, I think we should make this thing happen. So that was my first event. And being a part of the Sim Racers in person, such an awesome event. So thank you guys for putting that on. I'm really looking forward to coming again this year. In terms of sim racing event itself, we hosted a heat event a few months ago with Maz Laguna Seca, which was a lot of fun and kind of our first experience of hosting an event. And I knew our next event that we hosted, I wanted to do something that isn't really normal within the sim racing community, or as mainstream as we might think it is. One of our team members hosts a community on Discord focused on Japanese drifting, and specifically in the mountains, called Toge. which just means mountain pass, but in racing it means drifting through the mountains. And if anyone who's ever grew up watching the Japanese anime show Initial D will understand what this is, but this is what we wanted to host. And it was an awesome event, and I wanted to get the best commentator I could find. His name was Luke Crane. I don't know if you know him, but he was absolutely fantastic. And Luke, you said you had no experience going into it, but I think you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun commentating with it. Great feedback from the community. We had some pretty prominent sim racers actually join, who even competed in the other event we hosted last week, which I'll get into. But
there's some that want to get involved, by the way, in the future. That it's like some people who are watching, who I work with, or how I have worked with. They're like, oh, I really want to take part in that. It was really good fun. And you said about me not having any experience. I didn't. I did a bit of research, obviously, but I tried to bring kind of my style, but also not completely shit over what what that community had already created. And it was so much fun, man.
So we'll be doing that again. But again, with Ready Set Sim, my ethos was I wanted to do something that isn't being done today, right? I wanted to create different avenues or different events, different technology, and that was one of the events that we wanted to do. 2 weeks ago, we hosted with iRacing the Bathurst 12, which was an amazing event. It's one of my favorite races, one of my favorite tracks at Mount Panorama. It was a great race. A lot of the feedback though is there was quite a bit of puddles. Since iRacing added the rain about a year ago, I think was that one of their first special events with rain.
No. The complaint is that every special event has rain at the moment. So, but this one was the most wild. And I am the same as you. You were probably watching multiple splits because you sponsored the whole event. So a lot of people who watch the esports and iRacing will probably think there's only one split. No, anybody can take part, and it was it's maybe 30, 40 splits in the main time slot. But who work for Team Redline, we're in the top split, and I was watching the most craziest special event race I think there's ever been. It was just, it rained for like an hour, and then it would stop for a couple of hours, and it wouldn't fully dry, then it would rain again, and it was just absolute madness. And you had your name all over it.
Yeah, no, and that was great. We wanted to be part of iRacing, the premier racing simulation game. It's my personal favorite game. But for the event, there was 8,700 drivers who competed in that with 3,200 teams. So it had a great turnout, and I think it was amazing. I watched quite a few of the different splits. I sponsored a couple other teams that competed in the splits. But it was exciting, and the whole time I wasn't by my rig. I couldn't race, but it makes you want to get out there. It makes you want to race. And so looking forward to the next one.
100%. And before we sort of move off of your involvement, I do want to say thank you, because you have agreed to actually sponsor my kids' football team, which is unbelievable, which I'm looking forward to. And hopefully we're going to have like a checkered flag kit for the away kit and stuff. So thank you for your involvement, not only in sim racing, but to help out a young kids team, which they're all absolutely buzzing with.
Of course. No, it's always an American's dream, right? To sponsor a UK football team, right? I'm the new Ryan Reynolds.
Exactly
so maybe
that.
Him and I will
the next world-class under-10s team in the world. How do you see the future of sim racing shaping up? You just said that while we were speaking about maybe it being the golden age right now, but you don't believe that's happened yet. So what do you believe is going to happen?
Yeah, and I think this is a great time for sim racing, obviously. And I got my first Logitech in 2020, so I was still kind of in the latter half, but through all the research we've done, people have met with it, and what I believe can happen with sim racing, I still believe that we are just about to get there. There's the most components we've ever had, which at the Expo last year, I was kind of flabbergasted with how many new wheels are coming out, new pedals are coming out, all these other companies I hadn't heard of who've maybe just been around for a couple of years, but are making fantastic products. So I think that with the growth of sim racing becoming, the technology is becoming better. It is becoming more accessible. Yes, there's more expensive products coming to market, but there's also more budget-friendly products coming to market that are still great products. With the rise of motorsports throughout the world, but especially the U.S. here, where I'm based, the rise of Formula One and now Indy and NASCAR, all just kind of culminating together, is about to explode. And most people don't even know that these motorsport fans that sim racing is an option. I always use the analogy. I love golf. I love watching golf.
Oh,
Right?
same.
I can watch
My
Rory
God.
McIlroy go
Yeah.
shoot 5 under, and then I can go to the course, and then I can go shoot 45 over the same day. But I can go do that with sim racing. I can watch Max Verstappen with at Spa, win by 45 seconds one year. That's it. That's been it for most people. Like, okay, well, that was fun. But they didn't know that they could go and actually experience the same thrill that Max Verstappen just had. And that's what sim racing can do. And I think people want to experience and be a part of this community of this racing. They want to do the same tracks. They want to follow along with the Formula One series, with IndyCar, with NASCAR, with drifting, with toge. People love the back side, the secret side of racing. And I think it's what sim racing can do. And once people understand, the majority of non-sim racers today understand what sim racing can do and that they can experience what their favorite racers are doing, I think that's when we're going to get a huge influx. And it's going to be great for all sim racers. The more sim racers we have, the better products we get, the lower the prices will have to be. The more simulations come out, it's going to be great. So that's what I believe is going to happen with sim racing, is that it's going to become mainstream here very shortly, as we're seeing a huge increase in the past few years. But 2024 was expected to have about $500 million in equipment sales, which is double from what it was a few years ago. And now the reports are saying by 2030, it's going to be over $1 billion.
Crikey.
And Ready Set Sim wants to be a big part of that. I think we can support that simplicity of what sim racing should be. That's where I think it's going. I don't know where you think it's going, but again, you've been in the industry a lot longer than I have. But I believe that with the rise of motorsports, increased technology, and more budget-friendly options, is that we haven't even seen the beginning of the golden age of sim racing.
I agree. I would even go as far as you can't play around a golf of Rory McIlroy. But I was streaming literally this week, and Chris Lullum and Max joined me in an oval truck race at Daytona. So that, we just all in the practice session, just messing around in a voice chat, and I was streaming. And then this Australian guy called Kane, his name was like, he spent 20 minutes over the voice comms talking himself out of it really being Max, and then you could hear him investigating, and he finally found out, oh my God, it is. Why is Max doing a truck race at midday on a Tuesday?
Right.
But you can. In sim racing, you can be in a practice session. It doesn't matter. You iRacing, you could end up being in a session with Dale Earnhardt Jr. You could be in with Max Verstappen. Fernando Alonso is known to race. Gabby Bortoletto just got into Formula One. There are so many real life drivers. Pretty much all of them now are taking part within sim racing somewhere. So yeah, you could go as far as to say that in sports, you can't go and shoot some hoops with LeBron James on an afternoon randomly if you log into your PC, can you? But in sim racing, you just never know. If you go to any Facebook group like sim racing on Facebook, you'll just see pictures of people. I was in a race with Kimi Antonelli. I was in a race with such and such. And it's that's the beauty of it. It's a big leveler.
Yeah, and as we've seen a lot of the professional racers, and Max has said this, is how great the competition is and great the actual racers are. With sim racing, everyone's on the same level playing field. You don't have to be in professional racing shape to do it. Yeah, there are some endurance races which take some practice and some endurance, but it's the great leveler, and everyone's in the same playing field. And these simulations are getting so realistic now that we're seeing a growth in more people I'm going to stick with sim racing before I don't even need to get to real racing. I can save 40 grand a weekend just doing sim racing instead. And now I'm getting requests from school districts here in the States for hey, we think that esports, but we think sim racing is our next big sport in our district, right? And can you help us with that? More and more people are seeing that the actual benefits of sim racing as an actual sport for competition, teaching physics within it, right, and mechanics within sim racing. So I think it's being brought down to the school level and to the kids level, and the parents are enjoying it. So it is just so exciting to see where we are and where we're headed right now. It's been people like you and people at Team Redline that you're working with, the SimRacing Expo, and all these other influencers are being a big push to get this next big thing, right? Golfing simulators were pretty popular and are very popular. And was always the thing. I want a golf simulator in my home. I believe everyone's going to be saying here in 2 years, I want a racing simulator in my home, and we're going to make that happen.
No, it's fantastic, man. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Ian. I think me and you could probably talk about sim racing and bore people to death for hours. But yeah, really nice insight. Have you got any final thoughts over the course of this podcast?
No, again, thanks for having us. And anyone who's listening, again, we are community first. That is what I started. I didn't want to be the expert. I wanted to rely on the experts in the industry. That's why all of our reviews, none of it's RSSs. It's going to the experts. So any feedback people have, they want to be a part of what we're doing here. They want to be reviewers. They have insight to what we're doing. We are listening. So please reach out. You can follow us on our socials or join our Discord, or as well as contact us through our website. But I'm really excited for where sim racing is going. And I think we're going to be a big part of it, and we're going to support this growth of this industry. So thanks again for having me, Luke.
No worries, mate. All of the information that's just been mentioned will be put in the description below, guys. So make sure you go and join the Discord. There are racing events to be a part of. Actually, maybe me and you should do an endurance race together, Ian, on iRacing in the next few months, and see if we can ruffle some feathers. But yeah, thank you for coming on, mate. And yeah, this has been episode number 4, guys. If you want to post your rigs that you've built, your dream rigs, maybe the rig you're actually going to buy from the website, you can post them in the comments and let us know exactly how you got on with the website. But that is it from us. I'll see you in episode number 5.